In today's video, I'm reviewing the Elinchrom RX D-Lite 1. Can't quite fit this in here, but this comes as part of a set, which I definitely can't fit in this shot. You get 2 heads, an octabox, a square softbox, 2 light stands and a bag, and it all comes in at around £550, £600. The Flash Centre have got a sale at the moment, so I think it's £550 on their website. I think £650 is about the going rate. But this is sort of like your entry into Flash. Now, I don't personally own any Elinchrom lighting. However, I do rent it for every location shoot at the moment. I'm using their ELB 500 and 1200 packs, and their modifiers are perhaps some of the best modifiers I've ever used. I think only the bronze-colour ones that I've had are better, but then the price difference is astronomical. Now, there's lots of flashlights out there now and studio heads coming from China and various places which are really, really cheap. And it makes you wonder, why would you spend so much money on something else? Now, there's a few reasons why, especially if you are either working as a photographer or you want to work as a photographer. Now, in terms of these brands, I get it. You can buy something, I won't name brands because I'm sure that's not a great thing to be doing, but you can buy something for a fraction of the price which claims to have the same specs. Now, the reason that I rent Elinchrom, and the reason that I rent bronze-colour or use bronze-colour, and the reason I use Bowens in the studio is because of the build quality, the reliability, the consistency, the serviceability. When I buy a light, I expect it to last me 10, 15, 20 years, maybe more. And I want to be able to send it to a service company, have it repaired, fixed up, cleaned up and sent back to me. It's a more economical way of doing business. There's also the rental factor. Now, I made the mistake of buying Bowens. I didn't know they were going to go belly up when they did. So having my time again, if I'd bought Elinchrom, when I need to rent more lights in, I can rent more Elinchrom lights in which match my current set. It's very hard to rent cheap Chinese knockoffs when you need more kit. You have to buy it or borrow it from a friend. I'm going to be honest with you here. When I got the set, I wasn't particularly excited about it. I was like, yeah, it's a 100 watt light. I've got 3200 watt packs. I've got 500 watts, 1000 watts, 1500 watt lights. You know, it comes with an aux box and a soft box. I got the aux box out and it was tiny. And I was like, well, what on earth is this going to do? You know, just use a spill kill. I was wrong, okay? I was wrong. The light from the octabox particularly is amazing. I thought it was going to be some hellish, hard, sort of nasty light. But if you look at the images that are popping up on the screen now, the first 2 were taken with the octabox, the second 2 taken with the softbox, and this shot here was just bare bulb straight through a roll of tracing paper. The consistency and the color temperature from these lights was amazing. Now, I'm not going to run through the full specs because anyone can read a spec sheet online, just hit Google. But what I am going to talk about is my user experience of these lights. Now, the first thing I should say is I've only used the ELB heads and they're really lightweight because all the weight is in the battery pack. These are not too far off that. Yes, you have to have the mains powered, but they're very light. So if you're not particularly strong, if you don't like balancing huge lights on boom arms, whatever it may be, maybe you don't want to have to buy expensive boom arms. You don't need them with this. Just using a C-stand, this holds it absolutely in place. You could go even weaker than that and use a cheap C-stand that would still hold it. It's a very lightweight head. Now, the controls in the back are very intuitive. The Elinchrom trigger system is great because you can dial up and down from the camera, which is something I can't do with any of my lights. I have to go to the light and move it, which is a real pain on a shoot, especially once you've boxed the light in or got it 10 foot in the air. Now, the build quality of the lights, I can't fault it. They're pretty well built. They're not as good as the Pro line, but they're pretty darn good for the price. The modifiers, however, are absolutely brilliant. Now, I know that Elinchrom modifiers have a great heritage. I know that people who shoot pro photo put Elinchrom modifiers on their pro photo lights. Whenever I've rented an Elinchrom modifier, I've just been amazed at, one, the build quality and the way they put them together. They're so easy to like assemble. I've had many a swearing match with some of my old Bowens softboxes and sworn blind that they've sent the wrong rods for the thing because it just won't go together. But then the quality of light that the Elinchrom modifiers produce is just outstanding. I don't think you could find many modifiers that are better at any price range, but at their particular price point, and they're not cheap. Elinchrom modifiers are not the cheap modifiers. They're somewhere in the upper middle sort of echelons of modifiers, but there's nothing that competes. Now, the light stands that come with the set, they're good. What really impressed me though was the case. Now, when I bought my Bowens stuff umpteen years ago, over a decade ago, it came with like a roller bag and I was like, this is pretty good. It fell apart pretty quick, but the Elinchrom case, it looks built to last. You can throw it in the back of your car. This is a great set for if you're shooting on location, but with power points, you can just bang it in your car, nice and easy. It packs away nicely. It's just a really good set. Now, who is this set for? Obviously, you can buy 2 lights for less money on Amazon. There's no disputing that. But if you're looking to be a professional photographer, if you're looking to have a sort of longevity of your kit, these are great. If something goes wrong with them, you get them serviced. If your Amazon cheap special light goes wrong, you put it in the bin. You're not sending it back to China for service. Now, this is great for both portrait and food photographers. Personally, from a food photographer standpoint, this will do the job. This will get you there because you don't need masses of lights when you're starting out. These 2 lights will be enough to do a really good look. I'd probably buy a roll of either Roscoe or tracing paper to go with it. But apart from that and a couple of bits of white and black card, this will have you set up for food photography. For portraiture, you're probably going to want a boom arm or some sort of articulated arm to go with it to get the angles right, especially with the smaller modifiers. I just use the newer C-stands, or you can use I think the Avengers. They're really good C-stands. They'll last you a lifetime. Just pop your light on there and you'll be good to go. Now, in terms of drawbacks to these lights, the 2 modifiers are small. You're not going to get that huge, big, billowing soft light, but then for the price of the entire set, you couldn't buy any modifier that would do a good job of that. Now, compared to a speed light, you're getting a bit more here. You're getting a better consistency of color. It's a better quality of light because of the shape of the flash bulb. Someone explained this to me once. I didn't understand it. I nodded in agreement, but I just accept that it is better. You're also getting sort of like a full studio kit here. You can build on this. This isn't necessarily your end set. This will be the beginning of something. 10 years time, you might own 20, 30 Elinchrom lights, and it's all still compatible. It's all still serviceable and working. And it's a good long-term investment. Now, it's not for anybody who wants to shoot exclusively on location. If you want to have cables draped everywhere, lights being kicked over, you want something with a battery pack. You either want to go for a speed light, a location light, one of the ELB sets from them, something else. But if you're a budding food photographer, I couldn't think of many kits better than this if you want to go something a bit more premium with a bit more longevity. You can buy cheaper elsewhere, but for me personally, having been doing this for over a decade, you're better off spending more money on a well-known brand and sticking with it because that serviceability is still there. Even with me buying into Bowens and them going bankrupt and disappearing, there's still loads of Bowens service centres in the UK. I can send my lights there, get them repaired, get them fixed, and they will come back again. It costs me about, I'd probably say I spend £500 a year on servicing. I've got 20 lights. And that for me is a really good return on investment.